Hey there, and thank you so much for watching. I'm Christiana on the Well-Behaved Wallet, and I am so happy to be participating in the Baby Steps for the Debt-Free Community tag. And I was really excited when I saw this video on Budget Girl's channel, and I know that she's linking that I think Kelly from Freedom in a Budget had originally started this, so I'm just throwing myself in there and really happy to participate. And I guess one of the things I was also really excited to see this is because I'm really believe in sort of the power of the debt-free community and the power of really any community is people coming together. And as individuals, we're kind of a little bit more vulnerable, but as a community, we can totally be unstoppable. So I'm excited to participate, and here are my answers to the questions. And I will be looking down at my phone to read them. So question 1, how did you originally hear about Dave Ramsey, and what were your initial thoughts on him? So I think I just heard about Dave Ramsey on a search for podcasts. I was looking for something that I could, that I could listen to, and sort of like in the business, financial education, financial literacy section on iTunes, and he just popped right up. I think he was like one of the top 3 results. So I started listening to him. I also at the time was listening to like a podcast on, I think it was called Econ Talk, with Russ Roberts from the University of Chicago. It was like super esoteric, super high level, like economic theory type stuff, and that didn't last. But Dave Ramsey did, and I think the reason why I was so drawn to him, so my initial thoughts on him were that he was super relatable. He was very like sort of down home Tennessee, and I know that's part of his brand, is he just wants to be this good old boy that's like your pal, but also will give you a good talking to when you need it. And I think he's a great role model, but I will say that I actually stopped listening to him for a while because of the way that he would express his political views. And whether or not you agree with him, I just thought that sometimes he would go on these rants that, full dudes, it's his show, he's allowed to do whatever he wants. I just kind of wasn't so excited about the way that he would express those views, so I took a little break. I am coming back to him because I'm just trying to get back on the wagon, financially speaking, in terms of financial accountability. So I'm definitely coming back on the wagon to listening to him and really trying to separate his personality from the information that he's giving out, which is really sound. Like, try to eliminate debt, like get rid of your debt first. Like it's good sound financial advice. And question 2, what is the craziest financial advice someone ever gave you that you had to laugh or shrug off? So craziest financial advice, people really like, I don't know, I don't want to say crazy, but someone had suggested that, and now that I choose a different career path for the income potential, and looking back, I'm like, that is not crazy. That's actually kind of good advice. But I ended up shrugging it off because I just knew that I wasn't built that way, and I wasn't designed. I'm not someone that works well when they're not engaged in what they're doing. I need to be engaged and fully committed to what I'm doing from a day-to-day like work standpoint. So I actually, because I was an English major, graduated with an English degree, and my dad was like, you should go into finance. And I'm like, that's a terrible idea, which is ironic now that I'm doing all this stuff on personal finance. But I couldn't make numbers my living. Numbers are my passion, I think, and that's something that I kind of had to really sort of come to terms with and step down and say, put my foot down and say, this is not, like, I'm going to go in this direction because I know that ultimately this type of career, I'm in marketing, I was in publishing for a bit, this type of career would serve me better. And sometimes you just have to know what you know and like kind of say thank you for your advice. It's probably good advice, but I know what works for me. So yeah, and it wasn't even crazy, but it was advice that I did have to sort of shrug off. Question 3, what is the hardest place you had to give up shopping or eating at? So I think just in general, shopping. So I am on, the next question is, what baby step are you on and how long have you been there? And I'm going to answer that question first because it'll kind of give a little bit more context to my answers to question 3. So I'm just on baby step 2. I'm still trying to get rid of student loan debt. I have about $15,000 left, down from 30. So not too bad, but really not gazelle intense. And the reason why I wasn't able to do that in the time frame that I had I'd hoped to have it done in a year is because my housing situation changed drastically. And any excess I would have wanted to go toward debt reduction deduction ended up going toward housing. No excuse, just sort of facts. And I'm working now like back on sort of, all right, these are the facts of the situation. Let's just deal with it and move on. So I'm only on baby step 2, and I've been here for a while, a long while. So back to question 3, what's the hardest place that you had to give up shopping or eating at? So for a little bit of context and to kind of, I don't want to say to give an idea of my financial history, I was actually in about $8,000 worth of credit card debt, and I had a $5,000 car note, which depending on your income levels might not seem like a lot, might seem like a huge amount. But for me, it was too much based relative to what I was making. It was terrible. It was like half at the time. It was maybe like a quarter of what I was making, which is ridiculous. So I would say about 10 years ago, I made the decision. It was like a wake-up call. I just woke up one morning and was like, I have 4 figures of credit card debt. This is ridiculous. And it was like little things that it would add up. It was a dinner here. It was a new pair of shoes here. It was a gift here. It was a trip here. It was like little things you couldn't even like quantify. It was like death by 1,000 cuts, people say. So I had all this credit card debt, and I was freaking out. I wasn't happy in the job that I was at, and I was like trying to think about where I was going to go next. And what I ended up doing was, through a long sort of search process, I ended up going to teach overseas, going abroad, because I heard a lot of sort of testimonials about people who had done that, gone abroad and taught, and because the expenses and your living expenses are so low, you end up being able to save a lot, you end up being able to get rid of a lot of debt. So what I did was, that was my goal. I went over there with the intention of eliminating debt. Like, that was my stated purpose. So I taught overseas for 2.5 years, and I loved it. I had a great time. It was tough to adjust at first. I would say the first 4 or 5 months were awful, but once I got past that, it was wonderful, and I loved it. That's why I stayed for another 2 years. So where did I have to give up eating or shopping at? I would say I had to give up eating and shopping in the States because I went abroad. And it was huge because I think what that did was to jog my mindset and to give me like a wake-up call, like a sharp kind of like, to remove me from all of these sort of offending, I don't say offending like influences, but it really did that. And it forced me to start to sort of like level set and like do over. It was like hitting a reset button, and I had to start from scratch. And I will say that I never went back to spending the way that I did after that. It really was like a complete do-over. I guess I was kind of living in sort of a lethargic state. Like, I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't really care. I wasn't really engaged. Going abroad, because it's so challenging to survive. Like, I didn't speak the language, and I mean, like, going shopping was like a total, like grocery shopping was an adventure because I didn't know what the heck I was buying. I didn't know what the thing on the packet was. Like, okay, and I really had to stick to Whole Foods too, which was good because I'm like, okay, I know this is a carton of eggs. I know these are, vegetables. I don't know what kind of vegetables they are, but I know, that this is some type of greenery. But what that did was really force me to distill down, get back to sort of the bare essence of what it takes to survive. And that was huge. And I think I went over about 10 years ago, and I've been back here in the States for about 8 years. So I think that was sort of the biggest financial wake-up call for me, and did the best good because I completely gave up, never going back. Those habits of just not being engaged and not really caring. And that actually is around the time that I found Dave Ramsey, so it's kind of an interesting. I went abroad and I found Dave Ramsey at the same time. So that's what I had to give up. And question 5, what is something you want to do when you were on baby step 7? Oh my goodness. What don't you want to do? What wouldn't you do if you had no debt and you were just using your income? I would love to up my giving. I'm a member of a really amazing church, and I would love to be able to give more there, be involved in more sort of individual giving and mercy missions, for people that you know and that you're familiar with and whose stories you've heard, so you're able to sort of more interact with them and be part of their lives in a meaningful way. I would love to invest in real estate property. I would love to potentially one day sort of have a portfolio like that. And I'm just excited to put my money to work because, if you look at examples of like really great like wealth builders, if you have a significant amount of capital, like that can earn more money than an income. Like investing your money well is your income, can earn the equivalent of an income. So I am excited to get to that point, and be working toward that. So I think that's something also too that I would love to have more, more sort of definite goals. I'd love to buy a gorgeous house with a view of the ocean. I'd love to be able to contribute to family members' expenses like that. I'd love to drive a car that doesn't has less than 100,000 miles on it. That'd be great. So lots of things on the list. And growing. The list is growing. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll post the questions in the info box, and I hope that you'll participate in this too if you make videos. If not, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll keep watching. Thanks.